For this heat retrieval method, you will need the following materials: Trilogy or Declear. While both have the same functionality, Trilogy EDTA is preferred for most heat retrievable antibodies since EDTA is a stronger unmasking reagent. An electric pressure cooker. While stovetop pressure cookers and microwave pressure cookers may accomplish similar results, for the greatest consistency and the best lab compatibility, an electric pressure cooker is always recommended. Plastic Copeland jars or staining wells with slide racks. These are meant to hold the slides and the retrieval solution during the heating process. Additional materials include forceps for grasping hot items, deionized water, TBS wash buffer, protective gloves for handling of hot items, and protective eye or face wear. With the lid removed from the electric pressure cooker, place the circular metal rack down into the empty chamber of the pressure cooker. This is to ensure that the container holding the slides is not in direct contact with the part of the chamber touching the heating element. Pour 500 milliliters to 1 liter of deionized water into the pressure cooker chamber. The amount of water should just cover the top of the circular rack at the bottom of the chamber. While the exact amount of water is not crucial, it is essential to have at least enough water to ensure that all of the water does not evaporate out before the pressure buildup seals the gasket during the heating process. It is also important to not have too much water that might otherwise cause the containers holding the slides to become buoyant. Place slides into slide racks and insert into tissue wells. Smaller numbers of slides may be placed directly into plastic Copeland jars as well. Because Trilogy and Declear can serve both as standard epitope retrieval solutions and as 3-in-1 solutions for deparaffinization, rehydration, and unmasking, the slides that you put into the containers may either be paraffinized slides or deparaffinized slides. Pour Trilogy into the container holding the slides until they are completely submerged. Fill a second empty container with Trilogy as well. This container will be used as a hot rinse and only needs to be used if the user is taking advantage of the one-step deparaffinization feature. Place all containers into the electric pressure cooker onto the circular rack at the bottom of the chamber. Place lids on the containers. Note: threaded lids on Copeland jars should be put in place loosely. Secure the lid of the electric pressure cooker by rotating the lid until the latch clicks so the lid is locked into place. Ensure that the steam release valve on the top of the lid is closed. Set the pressure cooker at high pressure for 15 minutes. To do this on the Marque electric pressure cooker, press the menu button twice so that the light above the high pressure label is lit. Then press the time button until the electronic timer display reaches 15. Press start. Note: this protocol presumes operation in North America where electrical power is supplied at 110 volts and 60 Hz. Allow the electric pressure cooker to come to pressure. A red button on the lid handle will then rise once the target pressure is reached, and the electronic timer will begin its descent shortly thereafter. Some steam will escape during the heating process, but this escape will stop once the pressure buildup seals the gaskets. Once the timer reaches 0, the pressure cooker will beep and switch to the keep warm mode. The pressure is ready to be released. On the unit sold by Marque, turn the pressure valve on the lid to release the steam. Be cautious of the steam, as the steam can scald exposed skin. Once the steam has all been released and the excess pressure is eliminated, the lid is ready to be removed. Note, the red button on the lid handle will have descended at this point. The use of gloves and face protection is highly recommended, as the environment inside the pressure cooker chamber is still very hot. To remove the lid, turn the lid so that the latch unclicks and then open the lid in a way that shields you while holding it over the edge of the chamber opening. If the slides were deparaffinized before the heating process, then the slides may be removed, rinsed off, and the staining procedure continued. If Trilogy or Declear were used to deparaffinize and rehydrate, as well as for epitope retrieval, then the slides need to be immediately removed from the first container and transferred to the second hot rinse container. They should be lowered slowly and gently into the second container to ensure that there is no sudden boiling over of the hot solution. If the slides are left in the first container too long, they could have suspended paraffin deposited on them as the solution cools. These slides should remain in the hot rinse for 5 minutes and then should be promptly removed. The slides are ready to be rinsed with deionized water, or preferably TBS wash buffer, and then the staining procedure can be continued. The retrieval process is now complete. To continue with the immunohistochemical staining process, you will need the following items: a humidity chamber slide tray, pipettes, a squirt bottle with TBS wash buffer, peroxide block if using an HRP detection system. If using an alkaline phosphatase detection system, peroxide block would be replaced by levamisole. Primary antibody, high-def two-step polymer detection system, DAB chromogen with buffer, hematoxylin, mounting medium and cover slips. Fill the base of the slide tray with water and place on a level surface area such as a counter. This serves as a humidity chamber to prevent reagents that are incubating on the slides from evaporating and drying out the slides. Pour 200 milliliters of peroxide block into a tissue well. Take the rinsed, pre-treated slides and submerge them in the peroxide block for 10 minutes. This step quenches any endogenous peroxidase enzyme in the tissue to prevent it from reacting with the chromogen that will be applied later in the process. Rinse the slides with TBS wash buffer and wipe away any excess liquid from the slides. With the microscope slides lying flat on the staining tray, cover the tissue with a copious amount of primary antibody. Cover the staining tray and allow the antibody to incubate for 15 to 30 minutes. When the primary antibody incubation time is complete, rinse the slides with TBS wash buffer and wipe away excess liquid from the slides. With the microscope slides lying flat on the staining tray, cover the tissue with a copious amount of high-def detection amplifier. Cover the staining tray and allow the amplifier to incubate for 10 minutes. When the high-def amplifier incubation time is complete, rinse the slides with TBS wash buffer and wipe away excess liquid from the slides. With the microscope slides lying flat on the staining tray, cover the tissue with a copious amount of high-def detection polymer. Cover the staining tray and allow the polymer to incubate for 10 minutes. When the high-def polymer incubation time is complete, Rinse the slides with TBS wash buffer and wipe away excess liquid from the slides. In a cuvette, tube, or other small container, prepare the DAB chromogen solution. This is done by adding 1 drop of DAB chromogen substrate per 1 milliliter of DAB buffer, and then mixing thoroughly. This should be done as soon as possible to the actual application of the DAB solution so that the reaction occurs on the tissue. With the microscope slides lying flat on the staining tray, cover the tissue with a copious amount of DAB chromogen solution. Cover the staining tray and allow the chromogen to incubate for 3 to 10 minutes, depending on desired intensity. When the DAB chromogen solution incubation time is complete, rinse the slides with TBS wash buffer and wipe away excess liquid from the slides. In order to achieve the proper visualization of the immunostain, a counterstain must be applied to help give definition to the cellular morphology and nuclear visualization. This is most commonly accomplished with hematoxylin. With the microscope slides lying flat on the staining tray, cover the tissue with a copious amount of hematoxylin. Allow the hematoxylin to incubate for 1 minute and then rinse thoroughly with TBS wash buffer. The immunohistochemical stain is now complete, and the slide is ready to be cover slipped. To cover slip a slide that was stained with a permanent chromogen such as DAB, run the stained slide through grated alcohols for 10 minutes each, and then through 3 changes of xylene or a xylene substitute for 10 minutes each. Once the final 10-minute step is complete, remove the slides from the xylene or xylene substitute and apply a few drops of the cover slip mounting medium to the slide, followed by placing a glass cover slip onto the slide, ensuring that the tissue is completely covered. Allow the cover slip slide to dry for 30 minutes. The stained slide is now ready to be viewed under a microscope.